Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. It is October 21st, 2024. This is episode 299. I am almost at 300 episodes, everybody. Can you believe it? Stand-up comedian, actor, improviser, and dreamer, and turning into somewhat of a motivational speaker, I guess. Paul Green, sharing my journey, thoughts, and insights as a comedian and a performer and somebody pursuing a dream, and sharing my thoughts and insights as I do thusly. And my gosh, I'm on the precipice of 300 episodes of this daily podcast. That's right, I do this daily. Why do I do it daily? Because I got no place else to go. Well, I've talked about this a lot. The reason I do it daily is really for me. Is a personal challenge to myself of, can I put myself out to the world, my thoughts, my feelings, out to the world on a daily basis. And it is a commitment. My original commitment was to go 365 days. I have not. But I'm pretty darn close. I think last I checked, I'm about 26 days behind for the year. So if I had stuck with my goal, I would be at day 300 or episode 325 today. But I'm not. I'm at episode 299, and I'm really excited about that. And I have made a secondary goal to finish out the year, to get to 365 episodes without missing a day. And for that goal, I'm pretty good. I'm about maybe 10 episodes in a row without missing a day, because it got to the point where I was missing a lot of days. And I was sort of regretting doing this. Like it got a little bit more like a chore as opposed to something I was really excited to do. And I was in a bit of a negative mind space, and I had to pull myself out of that, recommit, give myself some grace, give myself some love, and just regroup and recommit and keep moving forward. Like, that's all you can do, So here I am. I am wearing my Arizona Cardinals t-shirt because I actually had a chance to go to Monday Night Football tonight with my brother Mike and watch the Cardinals eke out a win on Monday Night Football against the San Diego Chargers on a last-second field goal by our boys. And, man, you want to talk about a bunch of dreamers. I mean, the psychology of a professional athlete, I cannot even begin to wrap my head around it. The mental, emotional, and physical discipline required to be able to compete at that level at sports. And kind of a cool little story is so the Cardinals' main kicker has been out with an injury. His name's Matt Prater. Prater has been in the league for 1,000 years, and he's just one of the premier veteran field goal kickers in the league. And he's been out for a couple of weeks, and there's this new kicker who's been on the squad, and I can't even think of his name. And I just think about how cool it is to be him and to be given this opportunity. Because if I remember correctly, and don't quote me on this, I don't think he was in the league. I think he was, just hanging out at home waiting for a phone call from an NFL team. And our kicker goes down. We need a kicker. We call him up. And next thing he knows, he's on the team and he's competing. And he has now had a chance to make 2 game-winning field goals. One against San Francisco, and then tonight against the San Diego Chargers. And he made both of them. And as a man who is so big on following dreams and being open to opportunities and being prepared for opportunities and then seizing those opportunities when they come your way, I just think that's so cool that, you know, I don't know. I always try to like put myself in the shoes of people who are out there pursuing dreams and get a big opportunity. And I'm like, man, what must that have been like? You know, he's probably out practicing every single day. He's not on an NFL team, but he needs to be ready when the call comes. Next thing he knows, he gets a call from his agent or whatever and say, hey, the Arizona Cardinals are down a kicker. You're flying out to Arizona. You're going to be an Arizona Cardinal for who knows how long, probably just until our other kicker is recovered. But he gets a chance to go out there and compete and show what he can do with his leg. And I don't think he's missed a field goal. He had 1 field goal blocked, but you can hardly blame him for that. And I just love that. I just love being able to see, sort of imagine and visualize what it must be like to be somebody else who also has a dream and see them get an opportunity to step up, pursue, and then rise to the occasion and crush it and be successful. So very, very cool to be there at the stadium and to see a field goal kicker who, you know, wasn't even on a squad a couple of weeks ago, get a chance to fulfill his dream, which, you know, how long do you think it was a dream of his to be a kicker in the NFL? You know, probably since he was a kid. I don't know. That part I'm sort of speculating. Maybe he was like, actually, I wanted to be a chef, but man, I was just way too good at football. And then every time I would try to be a chef, I just wouldn't get any opportunities. And then I just have to keep playing football to get the bills paid. I'll tell you, that's probably not the case. So that's been on my mind tonight, being able to check out the game. And now that I'm pushing 300 episodes of this podcast, and just what a challenge it has been for me to overcome all of my self-doubts, all of my ego, my I'm not enoughs, and who gives a craps, and nobody's gonna listen to this anyway, except my mom. She never misses an episode. And now understand my girlfriend as well. So the women in my life are definitely watching the Paul Green Comedy Podcast and listening to it. I know there's some, I got a couple other fans out there, but I mean, it's just so cool for me to be able to look back and go, I mean, look at this body of work that I've created, no matter how insignificant it is. And it's not like I put a tremendous amount of effort into the production. I'm not doing multi-camera angles, and I'm not putting on graphics, and I'm not putting it through a, you know, professional video process and professional cameras. You know, I'm just taking an opportunity to utilize the resources that are available to me and to put myself out there as a comedian, even though I'm not super comedic on this podcast. You know, I'm not doing material that much. I'm just really just journaling my thoughts and experiences as I move forward. But almost 300 episodes. And I just think back to when I started this, and it actually took me a while to start it in the first place. I had the idea for a couple of months, and I kept talking myself out of it, going like, why would I just throw another podcast out into the millions, if not tens of millions of podcasts already out there? The probability that I'm going to, blow up over this podcast is so minuscule. Why would I even do this? And all of those voices that are so pervasive and are so persuasive and can just keep us from doing what's in our heart, regardless of the practicality of it, or regardless of what outcomes may or may not come. And now I get to look back and say, hey, for 300 days, I did this thing, and I put myself out to the world, and I shared what is important to me, what's been going on as I pursue my dream, with no other selfish motivation than to really challenge myself, and then with the unselfish potential motivation of, hey, maybe somebody actually listen to this and gain a little inspiration and feel encouragement, and maybe feel seen and feel heard, and maybe be able to see, oh yeah, going for a dream is no picnic, and it's nice to just have somebody out there sharing those experiences. So we'll see. So again, my goal is to get to 365, without missing a day. And then what I have told myself is on day 365, I'm then going to reanalyze and decide, okay, what's the next goal? Do I want to keep doing this daily, or is perhaps do I want to, reduce? Do I want to go down to once a week? Do I want to go to a couple times a week? Do I want to keep doing daily? I don't know. Anybody who does listen to this, if you have any thoughts or opinions on how much you would like to hear me after 365 days, feel free to leave that in the comments. Other than that, this week is going to be really fun. I have the Midlife Crisis Comedy Show, my 2-person comedy show with Josh Novi at JP's Comedy Club in Gilbert this Thursday, and then I will be flying out to Salt Lake City to play Lord Voldemort at the world's largest Harry Potter party, maybe. And that will be fun. Very much looking forward to that. So anyway, now let's talk about The Magic Mindset. That is the audiobook that I have been listening to and have really been enjoying. It has, I think, really helped me shift a lot of my attitude and my mindset towards what I've been up to, what I've been trying to accomplish, my hopes and my dreams and my goals. And I can definitely feel a significant difference, not only in my actions and my behaviors, but my emotions and my faith and my confidence. And I cannot reiterate enough how important it is to fill your heart, fill your mind with as many positive, encouraging, optimistic voices as you possibly can. Because I will tell you what, in my life, the sheer volume of negative voices that are pining for my attention and pining for my approval and my acceptance has at times just seemed insurmountable. And so the more that I can listen to, pay attention to, and retrain my own mind to be a positive voice and an encouraging voice, just the better. And the better outcomes that I've started to experience, the better emotions that I feel on a day-to-day, and the more confidence that I have in myself to pursue my dreams unapologetically. So today's chapter is the magic mindset around the power or the ability to say no. Now, this is a really interesting chapter and a very interesting idea for me just to play around with. So let me start to unpack why. First of all, I got my start as a comedian as an improviser. And anybody who's ever taken any improv class ever knows that the number one rule of improv is yes and, which means saying yes to whatever is offered to you, and then letting that agreement start to create the reality of each scene and building on those realities. So saying no does not come easy to me. Now, for far more reasons than just my commitment to improv theory. I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that. And man, how much of this do I want to get into? So I would say really over about the past 5 years has started a very significant personal journey for myself. It came on the heels of me kind of getting dumped by this girl I really liked. Isn't that the start of every story? It's actually probably not. So I get dumped by this girl I really liked, and then, I was really heartbroken over it, and I was faced. I kind of came to this dark moment, dark night of the soul decision moment where I was like, I've been in this situation before, and I've have a tendency to lean towards kind of a victim-y, woe is me, why does this keep happening to me, type of response. And so this experience happens. I get broken up with, I get dumped. She was actually really kind of harsh about it. And I was confronted with a decision. Do I want to react and respond to this in the manner that that is sort of consistent with my personality and consistent with my neurological programming? Or do I want to take this opportunity to make a different choice and to learn from this and to grow and to evolve and to really look at myself and to try to understand, first of all, how did this relationship or potential relationship, we weren't really in a relationship. It wasn't like a long-term thing. The whole relationship really was like a couple of weeks, but I really feel hard. And so, yeah, it was an opportunity for me to go, okay, is there something that I can look at here within myself? Maybe I'm not a victim here. Maybe I am showing up in a certain manner that is producing outcomes that are not consistent with what I say that I want. And so I made that decision that, you want to know what? I need to figure this out. I need to figure me out. And I need to figure out why I'm producing these outcomes that are so unfavorable and so contrary to what it is that I say that I'm seeking. And that journey led me down some very interesting paths and to some very interesting material. One of the books that it led me to was a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Oh, shoot. I don't think I'm going to be able to remember his name off the top of my head. He's a bald guy like me, though. And anyway, this book starts to talk about this idea of the nice guy syndrome. And he really starts to unpack that and to really debunk it and to take it apart and then to like put it back together. And the contents of that book really started to shine some light on some pretty significant character flaws and deficiencies that I don't think I was even aware were there. And I'll tell you what, sometimes turning the lights on ourselves can be some of the most painful, revealing truths, but so very necessary. And so when I started to unpack how this whole nice guy syndrome had a real negative impact on my life and on my relationships, it started to provide a alternative path for me. And, and it required a lot of work and a lot of deliberate effort and a lot of changing how I viewed myself and others, and a lot of deprogramming. And interestingly enough, one of the exercises in that book was to say no the next time somebody asks you to do something. Or just ask something of you. Just decline and say no. And I remember reading that and going, what? I thought life was supposed to be about saying yes and yes and, and when I look back at where I was and even where I'm at now, of how foreign the idea of setting a boundary or just saying no if you don't want to do something, which actually was just so contrary to my nature. And now I can see how necessary and significant the ability for me to say no to something that is requested of me that I don't really want to do, something that is requested of me that is not consistent with my value systems or is not in alignment to who I really am, and being willing to put my foot down and just say, no, this is not acceptable to me. Or, that's a pretty intense interpretation of no. So, sometimes it could just be really simple. Just like, do you want to go to this restaurant? No, I don't. I want to go somewhere else, And even that small amount of conflict to just say no to something is a real challenge for me, and something, again, that I've really had to put a lot of work into creating that characteristic for me. And when I really think about that in a more global sense of, if you're going for a dream, one element is saying yes to the dream. The other element is being willing to say no to anything that isn't in alignment with pursuing that dream. Because I will tell you what, no matter what it is that you're pursuing, there is no shortage of every other influence in your life to want to pull you away from your path and pull you onto their path. And I think about that every single time. Well, not every single time, but, just like seeing a commercial, like I'll see a commercial pop up and go like, oh, what's happening here? Some advertising agency was hired by some big company who wants to persuade you to depart with your hard-earned money and give them that hard-earned money so that some owner of that company can go fulfill their dreams. And, that's just one example, but the ability to recognize when you are being asked to choose something that is not your core value, your core dream, who you really are, what you really want, and being willing to say no. That's kind of like a deeper interpretation. Sometimes it doesn't have to be deep or meaningful at all. It literally can just be like the example of like, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant? Just saying no, if you don't want to go, But again, I think there is also a much deeper component to being willing to say no, set a boundary, and hold to that. And being willing to accept whatever consequences may come if saying no is actually you being true to who you are. And not always easy. This is definitely a do as I say, not as I do. I am working on it. I'm much better than I used to be, but I still have plenty of work to do in that arena, but I am committed and I am working on it. So everybody, say yes to your dreams and say no to anything that isn't, and see how that goes. See how that goes. It's really interesting when you start to set boundaries with people, or just say, no, I won't accept that, or no, or sometimes it's a matter of saying like, no, I won't be treated this way. No, I won't accept being manipulated this way. Setting a boundary that way, saying no to people's attempt to treat you in a manner that you don't find acceptable. Instead of rolling over and taking it, you say, you want to know what? No, you can't speak to me that way. If you speak to me that way, unfortunately, I'm not going to. How is this worded? There's the difference between ultimatums and boundaries. I'm not clear on the literature on that. So go study that on the more effective way. I think it's something like setting a boundary is when you say what you're going to do, being like critical or, I don't know. It's like somebody's like, hey, do you want to go to this restaurant? Like, hey, if you invite me to that restaurant, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Is like setting the boundary. You want to what? I'm way off I'm way off here. Don't listen to about the last 60 seconds of this. Go study it. I think Brene Brown talks about it. Go get the right answers. But the general principle of being willing to say no and set boundaries when somebody is trying to, or something, or an entity, or a company, or a theology, or whatever it is trying to convince you to be something or to do something that you don't really want to do, or that is not in alignment with who you really are, your true purpose, and being willing to say, nope, not going to do that. Thank you for the opportunity, but I politely decline. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge, everybody. It's been a challenge for me, but I am working on it. And I hope maybe if you're listening to this, maybe you'll take that challenge as well. All right, everybody, that's all for today. This is October 21st, 2024, episode 299. Episode 299 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow for episode 300. All right, we'll see you then.